So, hi everyone. Okay, even though it's a very little people, but I'm Renee, and then we have Royden and we have Aaron. Um, we are all technically from the IM track of the course, so we're here to explain to y'all what are some things that we are learning in IM. Yeah. So we are also part of this SIG called MPB Studio where we teach y'all game development stuff. Yeah, so that you can learn to create a game on your own when you go into IM. Yeah. So next. Well, firstly, we'll have Aaron to share with you one topic that we're going to learn in IM, which is Maya. So Maya is basically a 3D software that you can create different kinds of things. Like from furnitures all the way to simple rockets and also other things. So ultimately, Maya is a 3D modeling engine so that you can create gaming other just 3D models so that you can put it in your game or other stuff. So now I hand in to Aaron to do his Maya simple tutorial. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Alright, so this is Maya. This is the basic UI for Maya. Basically, here is the modeling area, and you have all your controls and stuff over here. It seems a bit daunting at first, but trust me, it's actually quite easy. Okay, so today we'll be learning how to model a simple rocket in Maya. Right, first step for it is that you need to figure out what's the general shape of a rocket. I like to use a cylinder because it's quite easy to model a rocket from. So here's our cylinder in our modeling space. I'll first use the scale tool, which is over here, or you can simply press R to scale the rocket. So well, this would be big enough. I use the middle controller because it scales everything. The y-axis, the x-axis, and the z-axis. Okay, it seems a bit short, so I'm gonna scale the y-axis a bit more. Yep, okay. Now it's sticking into the ground, which is not rational. So I'm gonna use my the move tool, which is over here, or you can press W to move it up. Okay. So now we want to carve a rocket out of this cylinder. So to do that, I'm going to go to this polycylinder tree input here. I'm going to make more subdivisions for the height of the rocket, so I can carve out different levels of the rocket from this cylinder here. To do that, I'm going to go to deform, and I'm going to go to lattice. So I choose to do it by lattice because it's less messy and it only has 4 points for each level, which is easier to deform than just using this over here. Okay, I'm gonna go to lattice point. Alright. So basically for lattice, there'll be points for each corner of the lattice, and you can select as many points as you want to do scaling simultaneously. Okay, I'm gonna do the tip of the rocket here. I'm gonna use the scale tool again, which is R. And I'm gonna use this green square here. So what this green square does is it's gonna scale both the X and the Z axis at the same time to preserve its circle around this shape. And I'm gonna do the same for the rest of the rocket. Okay, so now we have the general shape of a rocket. It doesn't look like it yet, but it will soon. Okay, so now you have 3 items here. the rocket itself, the lattice, and the base of the lattice. So in order to get rid of these, I'll select all three of them by shift left clicking here. I'm going to go to edit and delete by type history. So I deleted type by history because just now there was this inputs here. Basically, when you input something into this cylinder, its history will log over here. And by deleting the history, you'll delete whatever stuff you added to it, which is the lattice. Okay. So now I want to make the wings of the rocket. I'll start by going to face and to select each individual face of the cylinder here. I'm going to select the four corners. Okay. So now I'm going to use this function called extrude face. So to go to extrude face is shift, right click, and then extrude face. So what extrude face does is that it allows you to scale any object without affecting the area around it. So as you can see, I can move four different parts of it in their individual directions. Okay, let's say I didn't use extrude face. What will it do? So let's say I select this four, and then I just move it. As you can see, it will affect like the area around it, and it just looks very messy overall. That's why I use extrude face. Okay, now I've extruded the wings of it. It's time to make it look more like wings. I'm gonna go to vertex mode. I'm gonna select the vertices of the rocket. Oops. Wait a sec. Okay, sorry. Alright, so vertex mode again. Okay, so now I'm going to press W, which is my move tool, and I'm going to move all of these vertices down at the same time. Okay, this is important because you want to keep the symmetry of the rocket. Now I'm going to move the middle ones. Okay, this is a bit tricky, but I'm going to press R, which is the scale tool. I'm going to use the same green box to scale all of them out. Okay, it should be fine. And lastly, I'm going to...
Wait, guys.
Yes?
It says start at 3:30. Wait, what?
It's fine, you're recording.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's recording. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks a bit like wings right now, but it's kind of fat, so I'm going to scale it again. Okay, so off and move it in. Okay, so now it generally looks like that, but it looks like a nuclear bomb. So what I can do is go to object mode, and then I can use the same thing, and I can scale it in. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to do the last part of this rocket, which is the exhaust. So from the bottom view, it's quite hard to see because there's a grid over here. So what I can do is disable the grid by clicking this button here. And now now I can see clearly. Okay. For this component, I'm going to use edge mode, which you can select like the edges of any surface. I'm going to select the edges right here. I'm going to go to the modeling toolkit up here, and I'm going to use connect. So what connect does is that it adds vertices to edges to make more edges. It will make sense when I click it. Okay, as you can see, it connected all these edges to make another circle inside this bigger circle. And you can add as many, you can connect as many segments as you want by holding middle mouse button and moving right, or add lesser by moving left. Okay, now I'm going to press enter, and here is my circle. I'm going to go to face, and I'm going to select all these faces inside. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing, extrude face, and move it down. Alright, now I'm going to go to scale, which is R, and I'm going to do the same thing by clicking this box here, the X and Z axis one, and scaling it out. So now my rocket has the exhaust over here. Okay, but now we have the general shape, but we're not done yet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to color the rocket. By coloring, you can click in this icon over here, which is also called Hypershade. This is basically your coloring editor for Maya. There are many textures that you can put on your models. 2D textures, 3D textures, and many other materials. Okay, but for our rocket, I'm going to use a reflective material. So I'm going to go to create, materials, I'm going to use blend. Okay, for this rocket, I'm going to make it white and red. So I'm going to go to color and white. I'm going to go to reflectivity and move it all the way up to 1. And let's call it body. Okay. So I'm gonna go to object mode. I'm going to right click this and assign material to selection. Okay, now it looks like it has a metallic coating to it. It's quite reflective. Alright. For the wings, I want to color it red. So I'm going to do the same thing. Create, materials, blend. And I'm going to go to color and bright red. Same thing, reflectivity 1. I'm going to call it wing. Okay, now we're going to go to face, and I'm going to select all the wings. Okay, same thing as just now. Wing, assign material selection. Okay, and for the tip, I'm going to color it red as well. Alright. Okay, lastly, for the exhaust, I'm going to give it a dark shade of gray. Okay, I'm going to call it exhaust. Now I'm just going to select it. Okay, and I'm going to apply the color. Okay, so this is the finished product of the rocket. Of course, there are many other things that you can do in Maya. So let me show you some examples. So there's this example where it's the same thing, but you can add viewports to it or windows by creating more cylinders and putting them into your rocket body. And then there is this as well. You can rotate objects in Maya to give it some more like animation, like flying. Okay, I'm gonna show you. So this rocket is actually animated. Yeah, so basically you can do more than just modeling in Maya. You can also do animation, and there's actually a lot of other stuff you can do by just using their plugin manager and downloading their community-based projects. Yep, and that's about it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Share. There. Here. Okay, so thank you, Aaron, for sharing. His just sharing simple tutorial regarding Maya. So now proceeding on, we'll be sharing with you all like the next part of our tutorial that when you enter into IM, it'll be something that you'll learn also. So next part will actually be Spark AR. So basically the introduction of Spark AR is basically a software for you to create simple AR stuff. Example like face, how to say, like when you see on Instagram those kind of like face filters, that kind of thing, those are things by which you can create through Spark AR. So now we'll have Royden, who's gonna give you all a simple tutorial on how Spark AR kind of works. Stop share. Yep.
Let me share my screen. Can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Royden. I'm from Immersive Media, and today I'll be showing you Spark AR. So this is a software that's used to produce like face filters, you know, the stuff that you find on Instagram. So today I'm just going to show you very, very basic stuff to give you an idea of what you can do with the software, and hopefully maybe you'll try it out for yourself. So I've already created a file here but when you create a file, it will also basically be the same thing. And so let's first learn how to move around in Spark AR. So by using the right click, you rotate around a point. Yeah, so you rotate the camera around. There's me right clicking and moving up. And by using the middle mouse button, you will move it like this, right? And if you use the scroll wheel, you'll start zooming in and out. So this is how you manipulate the camera, you know, to move around and see different objects. Yeah. So following that up, I will show you how to create like just a plane. Okay? So this is creating a plane. So it's just an object, right? So let's say I want to change the location of the object, right? So I will hit the E key, which is also it basically allows you to move the plane around. So for example, I want to move it to his forehead. Yes, and he looks very surprised. So using the E key, I can move the plane around. But let's say I don't want it to be let's say I don't want it to be a square. Let's say I want to be a diamond on his forehead. So I'll do is I'll press R, which is the rotate key. And then I'll rotate it and it'll look like a diamond now. So another thing you can do is you can change the scale of the object. You know, you can manipulate its shape by hitting the T key. And this allows you to change the shape of the object, you see? So let's say I want to make it a really weird rectangle around him. Yeah, so that's how you would do it. So this, let's say I want to make it track to his face now. So what I'll do here is I'll add a face tracker, right? And then I'll drag the plane into the face tracker, and now it's tracking onto his face. Yeah. So now I'll do a really simple face filter. So what we'll do is we'll import a 3D model. In this case, it's glasses. You can get these 3D models on Sketchfab, and they are free, so you can try to mess around with this. So I just dragged and dropped this model into the into the workspace, and now I need to scale it down. So if you remember when I said the scale tool was T, and then we're gonna use the center plane to scale all the scale in all directions to the size that I want it to be. So let's say I think it needs to be smaller. So now there's a sunglasses like on the screen, but now I want to make it track to his face, right? So what I'll do here is I'll add a face tracker. And then I'll pull the glasses into the face tracker, and now it'll track to his face. But it's too, now I think it's a bit too low. And you can see he's moving around, so it's very hard for me to, click on it and move it around. So what I can do here, right, is pause him from moving, and then I'll start moving the, moving will be the E key, moving the glasses around. And there we go. So this is a very simple demonstration of what you can do with Spark AR. It's just, and this is just so that maybe I'll encourage you to try out this by yourself. And yeah, that's all I had to show for today. And now we'll move on.
Okay. Okay. Let me share my slides. Give me a moment. Okay. Oh no. Okay, wait. How do I close this tab? Okay. So thank you, Ryan, for sharing the Spark AR tutorial. Hope you all have like a deeper a little bit of understanding of what Spark AR, like how it works and stuff. So next we'll be going into Unity. So Unity will be a game engine that you will be able to touch on if you were to go on the game design pathway after your IM. So just want to put Unity here so that because Unity currently is a game engine that the ICTs that Ngee Ann Poly offers when you go into game designs. Yeah. So so next we will start with how to download Unity. So it's time for a simple walkthrough of how to download Unity. So wait. So we'll start with how to download Unity. So as you can see, give me a sec. Let me try and navigate through it. Yeah, to download Unity, first you have to go to this website, which is unity3d.com, get Unity download. All you need to do is basically, firstly, create your own Unity ID. Here, I haven't really logged in yet, but you have to create your own Unity ID first. And then next, you do is download Unity Hub. So once you download Unity Hub already, right, you'll have this white Unity Hub pop out. They will appear. So basically, here will be like the project folders that you can have. So how you can start Unity is basically go into installs, press add. So by pressing add, right, you can install the Unity version by which you can download, then you can open up so that you can edit within that version. So the recommended versions that I kind of recommend would be basically a 2019 4.17 and 2019 4.16, because technically now they're on long-term support, so so it's much more compatible, and it's better than the newer ones, which I think it's like much not really that good because the asset store is actually being taken out from this version. So that's that. That's how you download Unity. For those who are wondering, because you cannot download Unity because it takes money to download it. Actually, it's not really that true, because Unity has this education package for students. So technically, it doesn't need money to actually download Unity. You just need an account just to go inside Unity already. So if you all want to start trying out Unity, go ahead and download it. Okay, so let me go back to my slides. Okay, so next. So firstly, when it comes to Unity, I'll be talking about two simple topics in Unity, because in Unity, there's really many things that you can do, but I'll be talking about particle effects and terrains. Yeah. So particle effects, this may sound a bit dry, because like particle effects, like there's a lot of terms to it. So firstly, you can see that like particles, they are basically like small meshes of it. Yeah, they are displayed and moved in great numbers in like particle system. And then like ultimately, particle system is basically like an example can be just simple campfires or like simple smoke textures. Example, like, you know, train having some smoke on top of the train. Yeah, so those kind of things can be made through particle effects. So next would be dynamics of the system. Actually, this is actually very important to understand, because every particles, they appear within a few seconds. So you have to know like, oh, within these few seconds, like maybe I want these particles to appear this way, or maybe another type of like direction by which you want it to be emitted from lah. Yeah, but that's that. It'll be shown in depth through a video later lah. Yeah, so dynamics also more in terms of how particles, they can be actually modified through emission rate. So emission rate, right? If you were to increase the emission rate, definitely more particles will appear lah, and then you will see. Yeah, and then ultimately like there's also ways to how you can tweak the particle system in Unity also. Yeah, so the more important terms in particle system are basically emission and also in terms of the lifetime. So like sometimes when you want to control size, the recommended one is always to control size over lifetime, so that over a certain period you can see how it actually adjusts so that it looks more natural and more flowing, instead of like, oh, I just straight away just make it from small directly to big, which is not really much of a natural system by which you want to create lah in particle system. So, and also next would be, in terms of dynamics, will also be color, size, and rotation. So sometimes, you know, when you create particles, right, it starts from a single material that you put inside that already has the certain color by which that is in the picture already lah. So like the color, you might not need it, but it's still there so that you can like tweak the colors and of the certain set of particles that you want to give out lah. Yeah, so and also this component about particle is that the material has to always be transparent, and it must not always have this background, because with that background, right, it will be very hard for it to produce, for the Unity system to actually like produce really good particle systems. So there's also like a simple module which is called the materials in terms is particles additive. So by selecting particles additive, you'll be able to like change it into like a transparent background of the material that you put over. Yeah, so you don't have to like go to Photoshop and like erase the background, that kind of thing. Yeah, so next, in terms of dynamics also, with particle system, you can create like waterfalls and smoke also. Yeah, so now I'll be showing you a simple video to show you like how particles actually kind of work lah, that is currently now available in Unity Asset Store. So I'll be playing this video.
Unity's content team have been busy updating, upgrading, and uploading a platter of particles and effects for your artistic consumption. Wander the gallery of blinding flamethrowers, eye-watering explosions, distortion and dissolve effects, customizable multicolored fireflies, gory goop effects, flying ice shards, and so much more, all beautifully exhibited in the cool stone hallways of Unity's brand new Particle and Effects Pack. Download the pack from the Asset Store today and enhance your project with some beautiful visuals, simply and easily, direct from Unity.
Yeah, so basically these are some examples of particles by which you can do on your own. But currently now we don't really have the demo because of time constraints. But technically using particle effects, you can create all these amazing particles that you can put into your game so as to make your game look more realistic and more immersive. Yeah. So that's that. Okay. So moving on, we'll be talking about terrains. So must be wondering what is terrains. So to give you all a simple understanding, we'll start with a video first before I explain. So
One of the most
yeah.
fun but also difficult parts of making a game is level design. To make it easier though, we have now released the brand new Terrain Tools package, which is now available in Unity 2019.1. So in this video, we're going to check out the Terrain Tools package in Unity and see how we can make it easier for you to do level design and how to use it. Now, first and foremost, what is the new Terrain Tools package? Well, it's an addition to the new terrain system that we introduced back in Unity 2018.3. This package contains over 15 new sculpting tools, as well as a utility toolbox to streamline terrain workflow. So now let's jump into Unity and see what's new. So to begin with, we're going to need to import the Terrain Tools package into our project. We can do that by going to Window, and then open up the Package Manager. In here, let's click on Advanced and make sure that we have the Show Preview Packages option turned on. Now, let's pick the Terrain Tools package in the list and press Install. Once Unity finishes installing the package, we will see a new button appear in the Package Manager. If we press this, it will take us to the Asset Store where we can import a collection of sample assets to our project. This asset pack is made by our environment team at Unity, and it includes content like new brushes for sculpting terrains and some terrain textures so you can get started with painting right away. So let's import the asset pack as well. Great, now that we have imported both the Terrain Tools package and the sample asset pack, we're ready to go. Next step is creating a new terrain. On top of the new sculpting tools and brushes, the Terrain Tools package also features a new way of creating terrains. We can simply head over to Window, Terrain, and then Terrain Toolbox. Terrain Toolbox is the new terrain workflow window where we can edit terrain settings like width, height, and length, set up presets for terrains, and do so much more. But for now, we're just gonna click Create at the bottom, which will create a terrain in our scene. Awesome, so now that we have a terrain game object in our scene, let's go ahead and select it. If we now unfold the feature list in the terrain component, we can see the newly added features. For instance, we have the new branch called Sculpt, which includes features such as noise sculpting, and we have some more branches like erosion. Furthermore, we have a new set of brushes available too. It's also worth mentioning that the terrain brushes in Unity are simply 16-bit textures. That means you can create new brushes using any of your favorite paint or image editing applications when using certain import settings. For example, here, I'm raising the terrain using the new brushes. And we can see that the new brushes make the raised parts look more realistic as they introduce more details. In order to add even more details, I use the noise sculpting tool and paint around my terrain. Now, this is just an example of how powerful both the new brushes and the tools are. Finally, let's also take a quick look at how you can set up shortcuts for using the new terrain sculpting tools using Unity's recently added shortcut manager.
Yeah, okay, so that's like a brief understanding of what terrains kind of is able, the terrain tool in Unity. I will talk about the package later in regards to what he have just explained just now. Okay, so I'll proceed.
One of the most fun,
Okay, so let's just proceed on next. So what are terrain and terrain tool? So basically terrains are basically the foundation ground when it comes to building a level design in Unity, or even like an outside scene in Unity if you want to do like open world games in Unity. So terrain tool is also an easy way for you to create like the scene that you want to make without the use of importing like multiple 3D assets. So you realize that like sometimes you don't have to import like multiple mountains in Unity so as to make like the whole scene look more feeling and more like substantial lah. So that it will be a much of a hassle, and then like Unity will be like, when it comes to lighting and stuff, it will be a lot of stuff for Unity to like generate through lah. So it takes time. So for that to be better, Unity has created terrain tools so that you can create your scene easily within a few minutes. Yeah. So next, so these are the packages that one of it has already been explained earlier. Like this one is the Unity Tools Sample Asset Pack. And another one that I recommend is also Terrain Toolkit 2017. So both are free, and when you want to start doing terrains, right, it's good to go there, go to these two websites in Unity. I can show you all the websites now. Okay, so as you can see here, right, you can go into Unity Asset Store. Just search Google and search Unity Asset Store, and then you just search in Assets, Unity 2 Sample Asset Pack, and then you'll be able to add your assets. And then by pressing add to my assets, you'll change to this button, which is, if I'm not wrong, should be, wait, let me generate for a while. Yeah, for it to download into your Unity. Yeah, so you say open into Unity and then just add inside the Unity. Then same thing for Terrain Toolkit 2017 also. Yeah, so let me go back. Yeah, okay, so as you're following, so something I'd like to touch on would be terrains applying on current game making context. So we have a Ubisoft person who is called Paul, and then he actually like explained like how is it like while creating terrains in like a game making context lah. So basically what happens is that like they'll be supposed to make this whole big map, but the thing is this, there is no way that you can hand paint the terrains like for this whole big map. So what they did is that basically they only did terrains for the green area. So you see those green circle areas, those are all like pre-made terrains, handmade ones. They are made there. So you can see terrains are very exclusive and they are very special. They are very like exclusive to a certain area, because like there is no way they can paint the whole thing. Yeah. And you must be wondering like, oh, if like terrain is like only painted in a certain area, so what about the other areas, right? So the other areas are like painted through procedural painting by other 3D environment designers in the game company, who will be like blending in with other roads and stuff. Yeah, which is not part of the terrain, but it blends in with the terrain, so that the exclusive terrain, so that it will be like very, it look flowing and natural. Yeah, so that's how terrains actually apply in game making context. So next would be, so these are some examples. So so when you go into like IM, and then after that, when you go into the game designing stream, right, you kind of see like, hey, when you first started, right, you will be able to create like simple mountains. So this one example of a mountain that's created by a senior that has done terrains already. So that's just a picture of how if you all were to do terrains, how it would actually look like. So next would be simple demo time. Okay, so so let me open into my Unity. Yeah. Okay, so you can see right here you have the project of this. Okay, so right, first, right, when we start on Unity, always start on a new scene. So when you go into Unity, right, there'll be a sample scene, but I always recommend that you all go into File and then you start a new scene. So when you press new scene, right, you open to this new scene. So you can see, right, Unity has a lot of different things, like a lot of functions, a lot of buttons to press and stuff. But don't worry, it's actually quite easy when you pick it up. So first, right, when you start creating a terrain, always remember to press game object. So game object, 3D object, because terrain ultimately it is a 3D object, and then go into terrain. Okay, so we just generate a little bit. Okay, generate. Okay, so you might generate, you see this plane, and then okay, so right, okay, this plane that will shoot. Okay, so this is basically your terrain. So first and foremost, when you start doing your terrain, the most important thing is always to set the area, like how big you want the terrain to be like. So firstly, you press on this. So basically, this is like kind of like a settings button, but it's the terrain settings. And then I'll explain the other buttons later, but this is terrain settings. You just scroll all the way down to here. So you can see now my terrain width and length is really big, like 1000. So I'm just gonna scale it down to 100 by 100. Okay, so you can see now is this thing. So now you can see, right, oh my gosh, now the terrain is like very far away from your vision, right? All you need to do is just press F and then just zoom directly all the way inside the terrain. So now we're gonna just create a simple mountainous scene while using some of the tools over here. Yeah, so next, I'll just explain some of the buttons along the way too. So firstly, we have neighboring terrain. Neighboring terrains are actually really easy. It's just to add more terrain. So as you can see, right, you just need to press the sides of each terrain. So just press the sides here. It just adds a new terrain over here, which is maybe what you want if you want to add more terrains, like to make it link together. Yeah, but currently that's not what I want. I only want one terrain. So, but that's the function. So next will be painting terrain. So painting terrain is actually really important because ultimately there's a lot of stuff that you can do when you press these drop downs like sculpt, effects, erosion, mesh stem, raise lower terrains, paint holes, transform, set height, smooth height, and stem terrain. So every time when you press on this button, right, and when you start on something, right, my recommendation is that you always go to set height, because by setting height, right, you're telling Unity like how high you want the mountain to be like, because there's always a limit to how high you can make the mountain. So firstly, you can set space. Okay, I'll just set it world for now. Height, because its height is 100, so maybe 100, maybe I'll set it as like 40 for now. Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, it's just to set the height so that later when you push it down, like to make like simple holes, it wouldn't really look bad lah in a way. Yeah, so you can see here I have different brushes also. These brushes are all can all be taken from the package manager. So just now, right, you can see just now when you download those packages, right, like the Terrain Toolkit 2017 and the Terrain Tool package, right, you can just search here, terrain, yeah, terrain tools, yeah, and then you'll see these terrain tools, and then you just download it, and then you should be able to generate it here. Yeah. So if you cannot see it, you have to press advanced, and then you go to preview packages, because currently it's still a preview package that Unity just made lah. Yeah. So now, right, we'll be making our terrain. Okay. So we start by pressing this raise or lower terrain, and then I'm just gonna click this one, where only this one. Yeah. Just click a little bit of rubble up here. Just give it a single rubble over here, and then simple, just switch between different stuff. Okay, then you can make these terrains higher. Okay, can. Okay, so this is what I want, and then slowly as you build, okay, so let's say I want just one huge mountain in the center. Okay, yeah. So how do you make like make it go up? How do you raise the terrain? Number one, how you raise is just to click your left mouse button, and then you just raise it. So how to make it go down, how to lower the terrain is basically pressing Control and then lowering the terrain. Yeah, so that's how you actually make your mountains. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so I got my mountain up already, just simple mountain. Then next we have the ones which is, okay, so paint hole, right, basically is just pressing on this, and then how to say, it's supposed to paint a hole. Okay, wait. Okay, it's just supposed to create a hole. Okay, so maybe my brush size is too big, so I need to go down a little bit. Okay, maybe I should go. It's not working now. Okay, but it's supposed like just create a simple hole over there, so that you can kind of like see like a hole in the mountain. Yeah. Okay, but that's that. So next we have other than this, so now, right, since I've kind of made this like mountain to the way like I kind of like it, but like maybe how do I smoothen the mountain? So in order to smoothen this thing, right, we have this thing called the smooth height. So by smoothing height, right, you have to control the strength over here. If you control the strength like a bit, if the strength is really high, right, how to say, the sharp edges will all be gone lah. Yeah, so you can see like the mountain now, right, is quite like, yeah, it's quite rounded and no more sharp edges. Yeah, so that's how you like simply just smooth it, because yeah, just smooth it like this. Okay, so next one, right, once you smooth already, you must be wondering like how do I add colors to this mountain, right? So slowly from there you're gonna add colors, paint texture. So by painting texture, right, so now because of the package that I downloaded, they already given me some textures already lah. So when you go into paint texture, just straight away scroll all the way down to layers. So by going to these layers, right, you can press add layer. So add layer, right, you can go to, okay, so by adding layer, you can see that there are different textures that you can add in. So number one, just let's say for now, I'm just gonna add rock. So now, right, they're just gonna add the rock texture inside. So you can see like, oh, it's so rocky, like the whole entire thing is rocky. Yeah, so this is basically, so the first layer, right, will be the first layer that will be placed on it. So you don't have to paint anything currently. So the next layer will be, let's take for example, I want to put some snow. So snow texture. So how do you paint it? Basically click on this thing, so you'll show the blue thing, right? And then just click on the mountain. Click on the area by which that you want to paint your texture on it. So by clicking on it, by clicking on this and painting the textures, you'll be able to paint it out. Paint the colors of the mountain by which that you want. So let's say I don't really like it, so I'm just gonna Control Z a little bit. Okay. And then you can control the strength. The strength is just gonna make it all really, really white like this. So if you lower the strength, it's just gonna make it like less snow, but more blending lah. Yeah. And then brush size also. Yeah. So that is texture. Okay, let me just try to brush up a little bit in terms of this. Okay, let me just add more textures like sand. Just simple sand to make it, look pretty amazing. Okay, so other than this, right, just a simple tool that I want to like introduce would also be this light tool. If you think that, hey, there are some areas that are really dark by which you cannot see the textures and stuff, right, just click off this. So it will just be no light, completely no light, but you can still see like, hey, okay, so I have a little snow here. I actually have sand textures over here. Yeah, so it's, yeah, so that you can see also. So also another tool, right, that, oh, it looks pretty freaky. Another tool that I want to teach you also is this camera. So now you can see, right, my scene, right, I can see it in this view, but in my game, right, I cannot see in this view. So what I can do, right, is basically I just put the scene in this view, press the main camera, and then go into game object, align with view. So now you can see how you can see here in the scene here, but then now in the game how it looks like. Yeah. So so these are some like simple tricks, some simple tips that you can use in Unity also. Yeah. So other tips in terrain. Oh, okay. So now that we have kind of like covered most of this, other things, there are also effects which they are like sharpening peaks. You can just sharpen the peak. Yeah. So yeah, just sharpening the mountains and stuff. Yeah, but that's not really what I currently want, but yeah, that's something you can do. So next thing we paint trees. Okay, so painting trees, right? This is so as to like ease your, how to say, like if you don't want to import like multiple like 100 trees inside a terrain, that kind of thing. So ultimately how you can do it is that you can just add tree. I currently don't really have a tree now. Do I have a tree? Okay, yeah, I think I do. Okay, let's I can't add this. Okay, yeah, just add a simple 3D tree, and then all you need to do is just press, and then the tree will be here. Yeah. So okay. So let me repeat again. So ultimately just press edit trees, add tree, then put in the 3D tree by which that you want to include inside, and then just press, and then it'll just be here. Like you'll just gather a whole bunch of trees over here, which is like pretty cool. Yeah, so that it saves your time of like putting multiple trees like around, which is like maybe a bit of a hassle in terms of how you're gonna build your scene and stuff. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, so other than painting trees, you can also paint simple details. So this one I don't really normally use it, but because this one is, but painting details is normally your last thing that you want to do when you're painting terrains, because painting details, right, it will be very, very small, and you can only see it when it's like all the way zoom. So let's say, yeah, but then currently now, I would say that this one will be the last thing you're gonna do when you're doing terrains. Yeah. So I think if I'm not wrong, that's all for terrains. I've covered most of the stuff. I hope you're like will be able to create your own mountainous scene. Like if you're like go on like if you want to like do terrains in Unity. So yeah, that's all for my tutorial. Okay, so I will. Okay, wait, give me a sec. See whether if we're on time. Yeah. So. Okay. 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 So now I think is there any? Oh, okay. So now I think it's more about, is there any like other questions like